Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel and podcast that unites Celtic's global fan base. From Dunoon to Dearborn, Thurso to Thunder Bay. Wherever you happen to be in this great big world, you're very much part of A Celtic World. Dano's always here, but the special guests are, of course, Detroit CSC. Welcome to A Celtic World.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
So we have Sean and Wes. Sean, where exactly are you? You're both in the city at the moment.
Yeah, I'm in like the New Center area of Detroit. Wes is a little bit west of us. Would you say, Wes?
Yeah, I'm just outside of the city at the moment. Still trying to move in, but yeah, we're about 5-10 minutes outside of the border. So
Yeah.
Fantastic. And you're here to represent Detroit. And this is how we're going to handle the conversation today. This is the menu. First of all, Detroit 101, as they say in the States education system. That's the very first lesson that you partake of. That's my understanding. The location, history, people of the city. Of course, the viewers of A Celtic World are real intellectuals and they love nothing better than to learn. They never get bored by the geography and history and things like that. So there'll be absolutely no negative comments when we're going through all of that stuff. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And then second, of course, we're going to talk about the CSC, how you got started, and something about the members and the venue and the ethos, events that you've partaken in, whatever else you want to tell us about the CSC. And then we'll close it out just with a few thoughts, Celtic fan to Celtic fan, about how you feel about the season so far and your expectations for it. How does that all sound?
Sounds great.
All righty then. Well, the first thing we're going to do is share some pics. So the first question is, where is Detroit? Well, it's Detroit, Michigan. That's most of Michigan there. That's everything apart from what's called the Upper Peninsula, I believe. There you can see Detroit at the bottom of the screen. The famous mitt of Michigan. That's how people describe it, isn't it, Sean?
Yeah.
it's the mitten. Yep.
Where do you
You
live?
describe where you live. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I have a friend. It's the left hand, isn't it? Or I don't know.
Either or. Yeah, I guess you
No, it's
could.
got to be this
Yeah.
one. It's got to be that one.
Mm.
I have a friend who is always doing this because he's from Alpena. You know
Oh, yeah.
Alpena?
Yeah.
Because I mentioned Thunder Bay just now. That's because of in honor of him.
Yeah.
So Michigan's right next door to Canada, so it's like cold part of the states. Wes, it's not exactly palm trees and mojitos.
We have good summers here, but yeah, it gets pretty chilly.
Well, interestingly, if you want to get into a little bit of geography, Detroit's the only place in the States where you can drive south into Canada.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, but
Let's look at that again. There's the mitt of Michigan, as you say. Toronto's here. So this is all Michigan. This is all Michigan. So there's Canada. That's kind of odd. And of course, regular viewers of A Celtic World were fascinated when we learned all about how these lakes are interlinked and go out into the ocean and are great for trade purposes. So I won't go over that again. That went down a treat. They were like, just talk about football, for God's sake. We didn't
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about the fur trades of Detroit because
All right, so let's have a look at some pictures of Detroit. See what the city looks like. There you go. The sun's out in that picture anyway. That's the famous stadium, isn't it? What's that?
Ford Field.
Oh, it says Ford on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Automaker.
home of the newly winning Lions, which
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
feels like the world turning upside down to me, but yeah.
That's a nice
Us
one.
too.
You can see Belle Isle.
Yeah.
Well, so tell us a little bit about Detroit then, downtown Detroit. We'll come to it later, that's where your venue is, pretty much down in the city there.
Mhm.
So you're both Detroit natives, are you?
My family actually moved here. Your whole family's always been here, right, Wes? Like your
Yeah,
immediate?
for the most part, rather in Detroit or the immediate area. Yeah, so I grew up outside of the city, but I've always been between like Detroit and Flint, which is mid Michigan, um, and then kind of came down closer about a little over 3 years ago now, and then trying to get even further into the city. So
Flint, Michigan, made famous by the mismanagement of the town and the water and all that. It's had loads of
I'd say
problems.
made
hasn't it?
famous again. Flint was always a big auto city, just like Detroit. So I mean, you go back far enough, it was a really bustling city for a long time, and it's also on a kind of little bit of an upswing, just similar to Detroit, maybe a little bit further behind, and not as quick, but yeah, it's coming along.
Magic Johnson's hometown.
There you go.
Wow. I guess I didn't realize that.
Okay, so Detroit, I discovered the meaning of Detroit. I'd never really known. I won't put anyone on the spot. I'll just tell you what I've learned and you can correct me or not. But upon its founding, it used to be known as Fort Pontchartrain du Détroit. That's a bit of French pronunciation for Christophe in the comments. Or Fort Detroit. And Detroit means the strait that connects Lake Erie to Lake St. Clair. So I didn't know that Detroit meant strait. So there you go. Pontchartrain, I can imagine people's ears pricking up. Christy Moore fans will recognize that from the song about I fell in love with the Creole girl by the lakes of Pontchartrain, which is in New Orleans. And it's the same guy that the two are named after, who was head of the Navy or Secretary of the Navy under Louis XIV, after whom Louisiana is named. So there's French influences all over the place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting to
A
me.
lot of
'cause
our
I
roads
think
are French names.
outsiders know like Irish Americans and Italian Americans and the impact they had on the culture. But France certainly played its part.
Yeah, French was definitely early on, and there's like a lot of connection between like Montreal and New Orleans. Yeah, and it was a lot of with the fur trades. I was kind of making a joke earlier, but that's what Detroit was founded on.
Yeah, Chicago area too. You'll see a lot of French names, Joliet, all this type of stuff. So yeah, you'll see it all over the Great Lakes.
The French Jesuits were some of the first Europeans here trading and trying to do their mission work with the native peoples, and
Okay, here's a picture I saw, which I thought was quite, what's the word? It tells the story maybe of Detroit or the former glory of Detroit. Because when I was doing my research, I was coming across all the story of the rise and fall and revitalization. And there's all these areas of like sort of quite well-to-do areas, big, substantial properties, which sort of fell into rack and ruin. And a lot of them have now been cleared, haven't they? As part of the revitalization.
Yeah, cleared or restored in a lot of ways too. So,
like that house specifically.
Yeah,
I believe that house is in Brush Park, and it's that one that the woman from HGTV put like $1 million into.
Oh, really?
Which is like the perfect example. It's like, Detroit was neglected for 60 years with white flight and like the loss of industry. And then as it starts coming back, you have good bones and all these wonderful homes that are just like ready to be taken care of. It's kind of amazing.
Okay, well, I have a little video here to play, which will tell the story in a few minutes of all of that, which we've just covered. Then we'll come back and talk about that.
In the 1950s, Detroit was the richest city in the U.S. and maybe even the world, according to some people. Detroit has faced a lot of challenges over the years, from the collapse of its automotive industry during the 2008 financial crisis to the city's own bankruptcy filings in 2013. While Detroit was technically founded all the way back in 1701 due largely to its strategic location near the Great Lakes, it wasn't until the late 1800s that the city really started to take off. While due to multiple factors, This success was largely driven by an industrial boom with, for instance, the Eureka Iron Works factory being developed in 1864, which laid the groundwork for Detroit's future in manufacturing. Detroit became a symbol of the American dream, as it offered solid employment opportunities and a high standard of living. By the year 1930, Detroit's population had soared to over 1.5 million, making it the fourth largest city in the United States. The big three car manufacturers started facing significant competition from abroad, especially from Japan and Europe, who were able to produce cars more cheaply due to lower labor costs and more efficient production methods. In response, American automakers, including the Big Three, began shifting their production facilities abroad and to other regions within the United States where it was more affordable to manufacture. By the end of the 20th century, Detroit was grappling with some pretty serious problems. By the time late 2008 rolled around, the Big Three's financial situations were in pretty bad shape. The bankruptcy of Chrysler and General Motors had a hugely negative impact on Detroit, making things much worse for a city that was already struggling with decades of industrial decline and population loss. As Detroit saw its financial troubles continue to mount, its levels of crime started to rise as well, and Detroit would soon be known as one of the most dangerous and crime-filled cities in the U.S. So where does Detroit stand today? Well, after decades of economic decline, Detroit is surprisingly showing signs of experiencing a revival as seen in the city's decreasing crime and violence, new developments, amenities, and young professionals seeking opportunities there. One of the most visible signs of Detroit's comeback is the transformation of its downtown area. Once a ghost town after business hours, present-day downtown Detroit is seeing far more signs of life. While challenges remain, including the need to address the city's high poverty rates, improve education, and eliminate racial and ethnic disparities, Detroit does show promising signs of making a comeback. As more people and businesses are drawn to Detroit's community, the city's future looks brighter.
So there you go. That's very interesting to find out all that stuff about Detroit. So it's now affordable and it's bouncing back, and
It's kind of amazing to see. I've lived in the city proper since 2014, and this past year was the first year in 75 years that our population has grown, something like that, due to census numbers. And I don't know if I ever thought I'd see it. I honestly thought we'd keep losing people just because families keep moving out to the suburbs for better schools, safer conditions. It's kind of amazing.
yeah, does it annoy you, Wes, that Detroit, maybe in many people's minds, still has a bad rap? And I don't mean Eminem. I mean, it's a bad reputation.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, so I travel quite a bit for work. I'm on the road a lot, and telling people where you're from. It's like, well, I'm just outside of Detroit. And you can see people look, and then I'm telling them that I'm, working on moving in, and you get that little bit of a side eye looking look, and you kind of have to explain it the whole way through because people don't realize it. And even when you tell people, I have colleagues that come in to travel with me and things like that, and I try to take them downtown and into Detroit, especially ones that have been there before, and they're like, "Oh wow, this is not what I expected."
Yeah.
I mean, it's been going on for a while now. I mean, the whole revitalization. I mean, it kind of started with the Fox Theater and all that, Comerica Park, and it's kind of moving ahead.
I've got some pictures of that, the sort of before and after shots.
A Riverwalk.
Tell their own story.
Yeah, very good.
Oh yeah, those are nice apartments.
Yeah, really nice.
Pretty cool, huh?
Nice.
Do you recognize this?
Yeah, that's the Belt Alley. They've gone to a lot of parties there. There's bars and restaurants and a music venue that's underground there. It's really a great place to be in the summer, maybe before a Tigers game.
So I sort of picture these sort of young, cool people moving in, buying an affordable house, having an online job, going out drinking craft beers, starting a family. Everything's there for them. Is that sort of what's powering it?
yeah, so the general affordability, I think, is starting to go away. I mean, it used to be where you could get, one of those rundown type places for $1, and that just doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, so let's move it on and talk about like the people then of Detroit. Am I right in assuming you're both of Irish descent, or are you a mixture of various?
Well, I'm a giant mix, but yeah.
I'm Irish and French mainly. Sean Patrick Kelly's my full name, my government name.
Sean Patrick Kelly.
Yeah, when I go over to Ireland,
that's pretty.
The cabbies make fun of me.
definitive.
They say you're more Irish than I am.
Yeah.
And Wes, what are you a mix of?
So there's some Irish and Scottish, and then English as well. We'll keep that part out, I think. But
yeah, I can edit that out.
And there's some other stuff in there. I got some things from the a little bit of German, a little bit of Swiss or other stuff too. So it's just But I'm a Mick, so
Mick Lucas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're a Mick.
Mick Lucas, yeah.
Mick Lucas. Okay, very good. Yeah, because I was looking at all of the sort of history of the movement of people into Detroit. Obviously, it's a big sort of Native American area as well, isn't it? Lots you can see from the place names. There's loads of Native American place names.
Yeah.
Saginaw and what are the other ones? Kalamazoo.
Yeah, Cadillac. There's a lot of them there, basically. Oh, Cadillac's French, but still.
So the British were there and they were grabbing land left, right, and center and battling with the Native American people, and eventually there was some sort of treaty was signed. The Treaty of Detroit, in fact, wasn't it, that handed over the city land from the Ojibwe, Ottawa, Potawatomi, and Wyandot tribes.
Yeah,
probably butchering those pronunciations.
And Wyandot's a town here now. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Potawatomi.
1807. Potawatomi, is that how you say that?
Yeah. Well, that's how you whiten it.
We were all taught how to say it in school, We learned all this as kids, being from the Great Lakes. So.
Yeah, the Potawatomi are around over in like Chicago area and Wisconsin as well. So it's a big tribe. Yeah.
So it seems like Michigan's one of the states that still has something of a presence, I mean, at least culturally, of Native American people, even though they're less than 0.5% of the population.
Yeah, definitely an hour plus outside of the city. If you get out near Mount Pleasant, if you get up in the like northwest corner of the state as well, up south of Traverse City and stuff like that, there's a lot of Native reservations, and the Upper Peninsula even more so.
First wave of immigrants were Germans, Irish, and Poles. So that leads us on to talking about the Irish Americans there. And I've got a picture here. This is taken from your Facebook.
Oh, yeah, great. Yeah. We're both members of the Gaelic League of Detroit. It's a wonderful Irish American organization in Corktown.
Yeah, so Corktown, as the name suggests, is where lots of the Irish American descendants, or where they began life, I suppose. Is it still quite Irish?
Bars, a lot of Irish pubs, but it's probably the second or third most expensive neighborhood in Detroit now.
Is that right?
Behind the villages. Yeah.
Probably.
O'Connor's real estate there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the O'Connor clan did all right.
Yeah, they do all right for sure. They own most of that block. They're good people. That is a neighborhood that I would say helped spurn the like visual redevelopment of Detroit with small businesses. The Detroit Tigers used to play in Corktown Tiger Stadium. Stopped playing there in 1999. And it was a ghost town for a long time, and small businesses that rented from O'Connor's, places like So's Barbecue and all these little music venues and bars really started to get like a following. And I would say that really started the revitalization from a small business sense.
Okay, let's move it on to the CSC then. Talk us through the foundation of the club. When did it begin?
So it was a long project for me. I had met Celtic supporters throughout my life. I would, like many American and North American Celtic sports, I was a supporter club of one in college. You know, I didn't know physically in my vicinity people who support Celtic. I would just watch Celtic on my laptop through dodgy streams and early Celtic TV, which I would still call a dodgy stream some days.
Oh man,
And
so bad.
I became a bartender after my undergrad, and I would reach out to all these different bars, and no one wanted to do the 7 a.m. for me, 7 a.m. local time for kickoff. So I started going to Windsor to their CSC with this guy Rick and then this guy Joe. And we would go to Windsor on the weekends and cross the border, drive under the tunnel, under the Detroit River over to Windsor, Ontario. And we would watch Celtic there. And then finally, was friends with people who owned a beer bar over in the Eastern Market neighborhood, which we've now moved, called Collect Beer Bar. And they were like, sure, Sean, you can open up. You can do that. We'll let you have a key and do that. So in 2021, finally got it off the ground after 10 years of trying to get it started. So yeah, it's kind of a passion project. It's the best. I've met so many people through Celtic and so many people who have the same ideals as myself and the same worldview. And it's more than I could have ever imagined, just how important Celtic is to me.
Fantastic. And somebody's very fond of logos because there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, that's me. I love messing around with stuff like this. It's so fun.
Is that you as well?
Yeah, this is gonna go onto that for sure
that.
sometime soon. People love the Michelin Man. Yeah.
What, that's marrying the Motor City concept?
That was my thought.
Celtic.
Yep.
And maybe
Michelin
the French
Man.
Michelin.
Yeah.
See, all ties together beautifully. Very good. All right, now here's some of the people involved. Are you guys in this pick? Yeah, I can see.
Wes and I are front and center. Yeah.
That's you there, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
My glasses are off. It looks like. Yeah.
Okay, and do you want to tell us some of these other characters?
Wes, you want to go first?
Yeah. I mean, first off, in front of me to my right is my fiance Lindsay, who's kind of helps a lot. I know I got that VP title, but really it's as we like to say, a kind of a community and team effort for the whole CSC, and she helps with so many things, especially
she does a lot.
We kind of say the speaker of the house. She's the first one to get up to introduce new people and to show them kind of the way, because we're in a bar without a bartender. So on those early matches, it's kind of a self-serve, and then we pay on the honor system. And then, we have a lot of friendly faces and a couple that are covered up. A lot of these people here are early adapters, if you will. So I don't know if you want to kind of walk through everybody or how you want to do that.
I'll highlight a few people. So we've got a gentleman to my back right, I guess, audience left, in the Irish green, orange, and white Celtic fourth kit. That's Marty. He's from Larne. He's new. He just learned about our club. Being from Northern Ireland, he was blown away that there's a CSC here. He's a former professional soccer player. We've got Alan in front of him. He was, like Wes said, one of the early adopters. Alan is a Man City supporter from before the takeover. He's a wonderful guy. We give him a lot of trouble for being a Man City supporter, but he's from the main road days. In front of Alan in the olive green shirt on one knee, that's Joe, one of the first members. He's the Joe I mentioned who I used to go over to Windsor with. Him and I were just two guys working and living in Metro Detroit who are into Celtic. Next to Lindsay in front of Wes, we have Puck with a baseball cap down and a mustache. Wonderful dude I've met through Detroit CSC, our local club. Politically, just great when it comes to activism and trying to help people in the community, especially those impoverished. Next to him in the yellow, we have Jesse, our most lively member. He's newer to Celtic. He got into Celtic, I believe, through bartending and seeing it on at a bar or something like that. Is that right, Wes? Or was it the politics of the club and the fan base? Or
I don't remember. I know there were some crossover. He's also a Norwich supporter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
correct me if
very
I'm wrong,
Just
there's
the
interesting.
a couple
colors.
different
No.
players that-
Yeah. Before Adamita, it was even a twinkle in our eye. Then we have
wasn't
Mark over
Gary
his
Hoover,
shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also have Puko, what's his name? Teemu Puki. Mark with the shaved head in the corner.
Mhm.
He's pretty new. He actually got into Celtic because he was a goalkeeper in his youth and loved Joe Hart. So we have so many different people that have found Detroit Celtic, whether it was the politics, whether meeting people like Wes, Lindsay, Puck, and I at Detroit City matches. A lot of people, it's their second team, and now it's like a love for them because our CSC is very open and very lively. We don't take attendance. We don't charge a cover like a lot of sports clubs in Detroit will charge a membership fee for Premier League teams and what have you.
A couple of questions about that last picture. One is facial hair compulsory? It's like
No, but that's
everybody-
funny now that I look at
Every dude.
just about every guy. Yeah. So every
Except
guy
for
has
this fella.
facial
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dano, do you get what the flag is representing here?
I mean, it's a plow. I forget
And-
exactly where it's from, and a dagger, I think. But yeah, I forget where this is from. I'm not. I've heard
Plow-
it before, but
Plow in the stars. Is that it?
Yep,
Mhm.
Starry Plow in the Stars from the Irish Citizens Army.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a socialist image from back in the day. James Connolly, he had the belief that the Irish people should own all of Ireland from the stars to the plow. They believe that moving away from the way in which England had colonized them. So
Yeah.
it's just a little nod to our politics, and we're a left-wing club. Like a lot of Celtic supporters, we believe, refugees welcome. We are this, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
That's us.
There's some more people there. A couple
That's
of
a
people
good-
bringing up the good-looking average. It's fair to say. Okay, so Collect Beer Bar. Let's talk about the place where you watch the games. We mentioned this earlier. It's right down in the center of Detroit. We were looking at an island a minute ago. Was it that island?
To your left, the bigger
This
one,
big one
Belle
here?
Isle.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
okay.
big.
Now, Collect Beer Bar is unusual among sort of the kind of places that you usually see people watching Celtic games. It's like there's an open rooftop area. This is where it is in the town. If I could just zoom in there. As you can
This is actually
see-
the old location, unfortunately.
Oh, is it?
Mhm.
We
Okay, I thought it was
just
quite
moved,
funny because
yeah.
it was just across the road from Randy's Sausage, which means something
Yeah.
else where we're from.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's funny.
So this is what it looks like. It's well, you describe it to us.
It's very Scandinavian, very sleek, very minimalist. The couple who owns the bar have very stylish taste. Honestly, if you looked at Collect Beer Bar, to me, it looks like a swanky wine bar in a high rent area of London or Dublin. Just a place you would take someone on a date, and it still is that. Before my wife and I got married, which we actually got married at Collect, it was a place we go for a beer or a glass of wine. It's different, and I kind of love how different it is. I'm sure Wes could speak to this too. The difference between our CSC and most CSCs is we get people off the street who know Collect, and they have no idea who Celtic are. They've probably never watched a European football match. They have no concept of that. And that's kind of an advantage for us because Detroit is so spread out that we are not getting Celtic fans who live down the street. There are probably Celtic fans who live an hour and a half from us that we'll never find. So we have to somehow get randoms, if you will.
Yeah.
Because
and,
normally, when we're talking to CSCs and we've spoken to a bunch of them, the bars, the venues are kind of all Irishy themed and wooden, and there's harps and people playing a fiddle and more Irish than the Irish. So this is really unusual. This is
Yeah.
like chic and cool, and
Yeah.
it just very, very different.
Definitely. And we do have in the city, some kind of Irish sports
Yeah.
bars like McShane's.
Mhm.
The issue with McShane's is it's an Arsenal bar. And I don't want to say that it's an issue, but correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, but I think part of the original thing that you wanted for the CSC is to have our own home. And, we do have a lot of
Yes.
football supporters here in Detroit for different clubs, primarily Premier League, and we wanted some place where we weren't competing with others, and Collect was the best of. Not only is it not a sports bar, so we're kind of the ones that can come in and add that little flair to it, but we don't have to worry about when our match is on, somebody going, hey, what about the, like you said, Man City game or whatever else? It's their Celtic bar, and when we're there, and when we're not, it's just a nice craft beer bar.
Yeah. So you project the
Exactly.
games on the white wall.
In the new location, we have a new TV that's a frame TV that's very dark. That really helps.
Right.
Yeah, this was a real pain. We ended up getting curtains at a certain point, and the early winter matches were wonderful with how dark it is in the morning.
Yeah.
But Wes hit the nail on the head. It's just, for me, I wanted a pub, a bar, what have you, that was just for us. Because as someone who is only a Celtic supporter and has only ever been a Celtic supporter, going to pubs and trying to get Celtic on throughout the years has been like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
There's always a Man United match. There's always a Barcelona match.
Right.
Everyone looks at me like Celtic is chopped liver.
Yeah.
We've got 10 million supporters around the world. They have no idea how big this club is. And I just want a place that would put us first.
Dano, do you fancy going to Collect Beer Bar for a little drink? Afterwards, you can go outside, look onto the
Oh man, yeah,
rooftop.
absolutely. Yeah, that is. I mean, you just sold me right there. I love rooftops.
Yeah, the rooftop.
I'm gonna miss that. We traded the rooftop for that courtyard. So
yeah.
You traded the rooftop for the courtyard?
Yeah, so Collect Beer Bar actually moved earlier this year.
A few months ago.
This is
very recently.
This was their old location in just in Eastern Market, and now we're on the a little bit east of
2 miles away
downtown area. Yeah.
So if I go back to that other picture that was an aerial shot, is that is that where is that what it currently looks like?
No stairs, all one level. So you walk through that courtyard into that room that's nearer to the church. It's wide open, very tall ceilings. We have a big TV behind the bar. We don't have to lug all of our stuff up 30 stairs. It's much better for everyone, and this is in a neighborhood. Whereas the other was more in, not an entertainment district, but it was in the district of our large farmers market. We have one of the largest outdoor farmers markets in the United States. So that was just like a very different energy. I think this is better in the long run. Wouldn't you agree, Wes, being in this neighborhood? And just,
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also a neighborhood that's you're seeing a lot of revitalization in as well. A lot of up and coming. You're seeing a lot of new build, a lot of stuff being restored. And actually, some of our newest members are from the area as well. So it's kind of nice bringing some more people in.
Yes.
Yeah.
That courtyard area is nice, man.
Yeah.
At halftime, or we always have people with kids in the CSC, and they'll take their kids out in the courtyard and they can play and kind of get their energy out.
Yeah.
We love the rooftop, but the courtyard is very nice. I mean, smokers can go outside and have a smoke,
Yeah.
All right, and then I can see there's some flags behind you. Let's have a look at some of your merch, which will bring us on to sort of the ethos of the CSC. Wes, do you want to talk to us about some of these flags?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, typically most of the stuff I think is, like I said, a team effort, but a lot of it starts with Sean, and occasionally he'll bring stuff to the other members, and we'll throw some different ideas out there, but a lot of them are Sean's doing. So I'd let him speak to it more than me on this.
So for me, I'm in my mid-30s. I'm 34 years old. So most of my time as a Celtic supporter, I've seen kind of the rise of supporters groups like the Green Brigade, and I've always been politically aligned with people like the Green Brigade. And something I always really appreciated about them and supporter groups of their ilk and other support groups around the world is how much charity means to them and how much helping others means to them. So when we put merch out, 9 times out of 10, there is a charity that we are raising money for. So we have a scarf that on one side it says Detroit Celtic Sports Club, on the other it says Refugees Welcome, raising money for a local refugee charity that is essentially a house that when people come into Detroit, they can live there. It's their first port in Detroit, and they help them get on healthcare, help them get a cell phone, help them get a job. The one that says Free Palestine on the back raised a bunch of money for medical aid for Palestinians, which is what it says. It's on the ground trying to help people in need. For me, and really everyone who's a part of the club, that's first and foremost, like, we're not going to have any far-right fascists in this club. This is a club for everyone, no matter your sexual orientation, your race, your ethnicity, your religion. That is who we are unapologetically. And I've been pleasantly surprised at the reaction because it's attracted so many different people. And it's kind of beautiful to see. So of our scarves this year, we have like a summer scarf on the store. This one doesn't have a charitable donation. I think our next piece of merch, we'll find something that we'll raise money for, but it's been great to see just how much we've been able to raise. I tallied over the years through Celtic and me running a half marathon for charity. I've raised over $10,000 for Palestinian charities, and it's just, it's just something that's kind of center for my life, is trying to help those in need.
It's a very consistent message across the merch and the flags and a lot of the pictures that I've been seeing. There's another one.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten into it just because it's very contemporary, and we've kind of been doing Detroit from 30,000 feet, but Metro Detroit has one of the largest Arab American populations in the country, if not the largest. Depends how you really do the measurements. It's us, New Jersey, Chicago, So the Palestinian thing has always been a large support for me growing up around Arab Americans, and like, this is just my community. I've been flying a Palestinian flag at our local Detroit City Football Club's matches since 2013. It's kind of a marriage of everything, You see him at Celtic Park. You see him at the CSC. It's kind of perfect, and we get a lot of support for it. There's always going to be some hate for it, but we're in a very large Arab American population.
Yeah.
You walk down the street, you see them in people's windows.
Isn't Dearborn, Michigan, like one of the biggest Arab American populations?
And that's a border town right next to Detroit. That's where Henry Ford started his operation. Dearborn,
First time I ever heard of Dearborn was on Searching for Sugar Man.
Oh, yeah.
You know what that is?
Rodriguez.
Everyone's nodding. I wasn't sure if you'd know what that was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's big here.
They track him down to Dearborn.
Yeah.
Such a great documentary, that, isn't it?
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Dano's our resident music fan. Were you aware of him before that documentary?
Yeah, it's weird though. Just because I'm a music nerd, I mean, he's known in like Australia and South Africa primarily,
right,
but
he's
nobody in the States. It's really weird, but
he was more known as a local in Detroit than a musician. It felt like.
You see him at a bar.
Yeah. He's just doing solo shows at like the local bar near his house, and then he just goes home and like. But if you ask people before that documentary, in the States, and I'm talking anywhere, even in Detroit, people would
Yeah,
be like,
I didn't hear of him.
who the hell is he? Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but that kind of gets to like the Detroit ethic, man. I mean, even with like techno artists and stuff, guys who are like huge,
Oh yeah.
they're still just like normal guys living in the D, man. They're just in the 313, just doing their thing in their house or whatever. And they're very humble, man. They're very low key.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There are techno and rap artists. Like there's an artist, Moody Man. He has a studio in a house 4 blocks from me. I walk to the coffee shop. He'll be outside smoking. I'll say, "What's up?" And he headlines huge festivals in the UK all the time. You know what I mean? It's it's different.
Kenny Dixon Jr. Yeah. One of my favorites too, man. Amazing. But any of these guys, Carl Craig, whatever, Kevin Saunderson, they're all just pretty average dudes. Like, yo, man, what's up?
And they play for free in Detroit at all these different wine bars and stuff like that. And we're spoiled because you can go out on a Thursday or Friday night in Detroit and see world-class jazz, techno, anything musicians for nothing. You could go to like Wes and I both like Lager House. You see incredible shows there, and it's you and 10 other people, and it costs you nothing.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same in Chicago. Are very similar. You'll see these world famous DJs, world famous artists playing at little local club or whatever on a Wednesday night. It's like Derek Carter and these guys, and it's a very Midwest thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so jealous. I mean, I live in the middle of nowhere and nobody plays. Like, even if I was in Kuala Lumpur, you'd get the odd, star passing through or something. But where I live, no one ever plays. The biggest band we've had in the last 10 years is, wait for it, Air Supply.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And people were really excited about it. And I'm thinking, no, this is not a reason to get excited, guys. Come on. But just because you're so starved of everything else, a band is coming and we all know one of their songs. Let's go.
Yeah.
And they're like in their 70s or something.
They're getting up there.
Yeah, so that's pretty sad. Oh, that's very interesting to hear all about that. In Detroit, like a real down-to-earth sort of place. People are kind of down-to-earth.
Yeah.
Man.
People don't take themselves too seriously. It's not like New York or LA where there's a lot of pomp and circumstance with like people with celebrity or clout.
No.
All right, so the recent US tour, let's just touch on that quickly. Did you guys get to go to anything and be part of it? Tell us about that.
Yeah, we planned a big group in a tailgate, very American, for the Notre Dame game. Notre Dame, as in the university in Northwest Indiana, was the closest one for us. We had 50 people go with us, which was a great success. Big tailgate outside the stadium alongside Chicago and Pittsburgh and folks from Toronto, I believe, Wes. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Cleveland.
It was in Cleveland, and
New
it
York,
was massive.
Hmm.
It was a dream come true.
Yeah, because we've chatted to people like Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Lone Star. Also, Fulton County Fenians.
Down in Atlanta.
So we got like a good flavor of that tour and how much it meant to everyone, and you guys all meeting up and getting to see the team play and so successfully and beating Premier League sides and everything.
Yeah,
it was great.
The way they played against Man City and Chelsea was just so impressive.
Yeah.
And the great thing is they were able to bring that through and into the Champions League and perform awesomely against really good opposition.
Yeah. It was really nice to see that in Germany. We won't talk about the scoreline, but they played brilliant.
Yeah. Well, we can. I mean, obviously that's the big blot on this season so far. And it's just sort of like a warning, isn't it? A warning shot across the bows that, maybe we're not all that good. And,
wind your neck in, Celtic sports.
Yeah, just a tad. So what do you guys expect for the rest of the season domestically and in Europe? Wes, do you think we're going to get 24th or above in the Champions League?
It's going to be tough, I feel. I think the new format definitely lends itself to our club more so than maybe the old format did. I still think I'd like to see more investment from our club to be more competitive in Europe, because if we do make it, I don't know that it's going to be really nice and feel great based on kind of what we're seeing so far. It might be one of those we skirt in, and I definitely. Yeah, it's really nice to be able to win domestically all the time and in different things, but it'd be a lot nicer if we could at least put some pressure on and do some different things in Europe.
But it's all Brendanrodgers' fault, Sean, for being so gung-ho and not being able to have a plan B, eh?
Yeah, that the Slovan Bratislava match was incredible. That felt like a fever dream for me, having watched us get scalped in Europe so many times, and I wish I could just replay that match over and over and over.
Yeah.
And then going into Borussia Dortmund, a glory tie, so many people I knew went over. And coming out like that, with our defense looking the way it did, with our midfield chasing them the whole match, giving them so much space. All in all, I do think we have a chance to make the top 24. I believe last time I checked, we were 20th right now. Crazily enough, a -2 goal difference after opening like that says how much our second match went. Just like, we do have very favorable ties. I think we can make it. The problem is, correct me if I'm wrong, if we don't make it, it's not like the old format. You don't drop into Europa League, which is, in my opinion, the league that we should look at and try to win. I love Champions League football. When I became a Celtic supporter, we were still beating people like Manchester United with Nakamura free kicks and stuff like that. Like, we were really up there. But I do think we can compete in the Europa League. That should be our level, because much like Wes said, winning in Scotland is great. I never take that for granted, ever, because I'm not an older Celtic supporter who was around watching in the 90s, seeing us get just hammered and what have you. But I do always say to people, Celtic supporters need to look at Celtic more like we are Ajax or one of these Benficas or Sporting Lisbons or Sevilla. Try to aim for the second competition. You are bigger than your league. Our league does not give us any help. It really doesn't. But we need to try to invest, like Wes said, at a European standard. We can't have Stephen Welsh, and we can't love Liam Scales. But Welsh and Scales last year as our center back pairing, Jeezy peeps. Like, we can't. That cannot be it. That's not European quality.
When is Liam Scales going to win you over? I mean, what does the boy have to do?
Oh, he's great. No, I know. But he can't be your number one center back in a European match.
Okay.
He's a great number 2, and it just goes
scoring
to show
goals for Ireland, scoring goals in the Champions League. He's on top of the world.
CCV.
He'll be our next 25 million sale.
Yeah.
I predict.
That would be nice. That would be nice. But it really goes to show how important Cameron Carter-Vickers is to our team. Because when he's out, our defense scares me.
It's a bit like when Dano drops out. We wonder how we're going to cope without him.
Yeah.
We'll just fall into silence, awkward silence for a minute long. Okay, Dano, you come back. We were talking about how when you drop out, it's a bit like CCV getting an injury. And we wonder how we're going to cope.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have your star power there. You know what I'm saying? The guy who sits quietly until we're talking about Kenny Dixon Jr. and shit like that. So I'm a role player, but I've got an important contribution to make. So, yeah.
What's it meant for you becoming a Celtic supporter?
So for me, like, coming into, our club, because I met you a few years prior to the club actually starting, and it was my best friend that introduced me, and he's like, "Hey, this is, Detroit CSC on Twitter or whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like, because I had seen your, tweets and different stuff, and, I'd followed the club, but like Sean was saying, like, it's dodgy streams. It wasn't accessible, or easily accessible. So the nice thing is, I joined it as being able to watch Celtic kind of deal. And like I was already had Celtic TV, but it was nice to watch with other people, and then quickly realized like it was a more of a community. Because I was at the very first watch party that we had, along with some of the others, and it's like, oh, okay, like we're all cool. Like I like this is nice, and similar ethos and similar mindset and life, and people I can actually be friends with. And it's how I met my fiance, 7 o'clock beers in the morning. So stuff like that.
No better way.
I mean, it's really meant a lot because I got friends out of it. It's I mentioned before, it's a community, and we look at everything as in that same mindset.
Nothing more Midwestern than kegs and eggs, boys.
No.
Those are lovely sentiments, and again, I'm jealous because it's just me here. It's just Dano where Dano is, really. So the fact that you guys all have your little community and all is it's a wonderful thing. So well done, Sean, for getting that going.
Thank you. It's the whole community that builds itself. I put a lot of work into it. Wes puts a lot of work into it. Lindsay puts a lot of work into it. But each and every person who shows up to a 7 a.m. match, they don't realize how much they're helping grow it. Because even if we have 3 people on a cold February morning at 7 a.m., it's something. It's something.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that seems like a good place to leave it. Thank you so much for joining us, the guys from Detroit CSC. It's been very interesting to learn all about your town, your club, and another piece of the jigsaw falls into place as we build a picture of the Celtic world.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, really appreciate it. It was nice being here.
Yeah, big up, guys.
Giants up for Detroit, a lovely city.